Morning, kids. I see Stryker and Bowen are already with us. Oh shit, you want to get the lights? I just realized I hadn't turned them on yet. No. Were you about to hit the intro? Okay, because we're already rolling. Damn, the chat's already lively. I ain't even said hello to nobody yet. Morning, sunshine. How you doing?
I'm good. It's Monday,
I
and
see some of the usual suspects and some of our recent comers like Adam Bomb and Somatic Dust are with us this morning. I see Sean and Dave. Good morning. Nate Too Good. All right.
right, that nice name.
Stryker.
Wait,
There's Maul. Megan and her boys were over here yesterday.
Scroll back up to Nate Too Good, just real quick. Is that Hillary Clinton in brown face?
With a turban? I hope so.
That would be.
Because that's priceless. And His Majesty joins us as well on Rumble. Appreciate you, old man.
So, before we get started, I did a thing this weekend. You know the thing I did this weekend, but I'm just gonna.
I did a thing this weekend, too.
Oh, did you do the same thing I did?
No.
Oh.
But the thing I did is awesome.
Well, I happen to have a few hours to kill, so I went and saw the new Batman.
Yeah, I didn't do that thing.
Oh, well, I did do that thing, and it's pretty good. It's not perfect. It's a little flabby, but if you take the Riddler and you make him a serial killer, and you give him motives you actually kind of agree with, right? And then you turn the whole thing into a noir story, but you use gorgeous cinematography to shoot it like a horror movie. Like, even the Batmobile is shot like Christine the car. Everything is scary in this movie, and it's excellent in that sense.
Stryker says Smollett must have accessed BLM bail bonds. Yeah. So there's a lot. So, okay.
What's the thing you did?
I don't. Oh, okay. Yes, let's do that. So, we missed the show last Tuesday.
Yeah.
Because I got a drone stuck in a tree. 65 feet up a damn pine. Couldn't climb it. I tried to reach up it with 50 or 60 foot of freaking PVC pipe, which I will tell you, gets unwieldy after about 40 feet. Or really any feet. But Saturday, I was at the lake with the family, and I got a text message from the homeowner. she found the battery. Now, high-end drones, the battery clamps in pretty hard. It doesn't just willy-nilly fall out. So I knew that meant that that the drone must have shaken loose from the high branch it was on and fallen enough for an impact to dislodge that battery. So yesterday, on a lark, I went ahead and went back out there. Spent about 2.5 hours talking Jesus and politics and religion and archaeology with a sweet little old lady who owns this 20 acres that I did photography for because she's selling it. And the drone had fallen down. It'd fallen about 40 feet, so it was about 25, 30 feet off the ground. And after 2 hours of shooting arrows at it and throwing ropes at it and poking it with flipping a long piece of PVC pipe, and finally at the end, what I ended up doing is I made a makeshift grapple hook out of some wrenches and duct tape and tied that to 30 foot of cord rope, stuck that in the end of the PVC pipe, shoved that up past the drone and got a hold of the tree above the drone and just shook the ever-loving shit out of it until my Mavic 2 Pro fell to the ground.
So you've recovered the drone.
So I recovered the drone.
All right, now the next question.
So the drone was in a tree, 65 feet up. Mm-hmm. It wasn't a crash. It ended up in that tree. There was a battery failure. It tried to land itself, and it landed on top of a tree branch.
We might have to have Sean Stryker on as a guest.
Stryker,
host.
I actually did a podcast several years ago for a college class, and it was about drones, and it was entitled "Droning On." But
okay, so
it's been a week in the tree, 65 feet up. It fell 40 feet with enough impact to dislodge the battery. Then I shook the shit out of it, and it fell back all the way to the ground, about 25 or 30 feet to impact on the ground. I brought it home. I threw a fresh battery in it. I didn't even have to change the propellers. It just works.
Whew.
And I mean, like, there's almost no cosmetic damage. There's a chip on one of the rotors. Like it appears to be good. And I even tried it with the offending battery. I recharged the battery that failed, and it seems to work fine.
Though
I'm still going to send it back and
I was about to say,
replace this son of a bitch.
Screw that battery.
But yeah, so that's
Oh look, Dave also has
money
puns. That's fantastic. So Dave, I'll go ahead and tell you, no, it's not Christmas time.
Is it Halloween?
No, see the joke to the Batmobile.
I understand.
All right.
I mean, in the movie.
Actually, it is.
It is Halloween?
It is.
Okay.
It's like there's this whole subplot about how people wear masks, and well, it's not a subplot. It's more like a theme.
They wear masks, so it's a political statement.
Actually,
speaking of politics
yes,
and the masks we wear,
yes, it is.
Let's talk about blackface hate crimes.
Yeah. All right. Me more Monday.
So, I don't want to talk about Jussie Smollett. I don't care about Jussie Smollett. I really don't. I'm tired of hearing about this criminal. But here's the problem. And this is why we're going to talk about it today.
It's the well that will not run dry.
The Smollett case is indicative of a much broader systemic problem. And I'm not... So there is a systemic racism thing going on here. But it's really more about the systemic classism. Now, the illicit and illegitimate worship of philo-Africans in this country that makes your skin color a currency, right? You know, if you are black, you can trade on your skin color with victim points, the same way you could trade on being a sexual deviant or being or virtue signaling on the right political positions. This systemic problem has to do with class. And in the case of Smollett in particular, understanding that he has been released from prison
Jail.
Jail. Yes,
There's a big difference.
It is. I know. You're right. Now he was sentenced to prison.
No, he was sentenced to jail.
Was he not on his way to prison?
No. He was sentenced to serve in the local jail in Chicago. And look, the local jail in Chicago sucks. Okay, it's the local jail in Chicago, but it was the local jail in Chicago, not prison.
Yeah, I'd rather be sentenced to prison in Georgia than sentenced to Chicago.
Dude, I don't know. Apparently, the prison in Georgia is like the rats have names. So,
are you talking about the rats that steal the cheese, or the rats that cheese your steal?
I mean, yes.
So, Smollett's lawyers fire back at Osundario Brothers' defamation suit as judge rules it can go forward. That right there is just another piece of the comedy here, because something that's also worth understanding about Smollett's situation. He managed to con his way out of jail in the midst of an appeals process, which means that if his appeals process fails, his time served doesn't count.
I know.
He doesn't get any credit for the time that he's already served if his appeal fails. And let's be real on the question of whether or not his appeal is likely to fail. I mean, you could not have this man more dead to rights on the commission of the crimes related to the hate crime hoax. So, there are a few things that we need to look at here. This is a great article entitled Shady AF, All Charges Dropped Against Hate Crime Hoaxer. This is an older article because this is about when the original hate crime hoax occurred and then he was let out. So, remember, the original claim was that in the middle of one of the worst polar vortexes in recent memory.
Wasn't it like literally 0 degrees?
It was well below 0 degrees. In fact, one of the hoax proving evidentiary points was that it was so cold outside that if someone had thrown a cup of bleach at him, it would have frozen in the air before it could be thrown more than 10 feet.
Right.
So,
But this MAGA country.
So he claimed that a couple of white guys in the worst polar vortex in recent memory in the rich part of Chicago at 2:00 in the morning, while he was out to buy a Subway sandwich.
Eggs.
Oh no, it was a Subway sandwich. The narrative, and then he changed his gag because when the cops arrived, he still had the sandwich, and
he fought back so hard he never even dropped the sandwich.
Yeah, he fought back so hard he never even dropped the sandwich.
They managed to get the noose around his neck, but he never dropped the sandwich.
And they said it was MAGA country, and they tried to lynch me, and they called me that
the Empire F word.
Yeah, the Empire F word. Okay. So much going on there. There aren't any white people roaming the streets in MAGA hats at 2:00 in the morning in Chicago. Period. That's without considering the polar vortex situation.
Right.
That's without adding in there are less people on the street than usual because it's balls cold.
Because it's polar vortex.
And then and Stryker just hit the nail on the head right there. No MAGA watch Empire. That's right. Most of you, I'm certainly one of these people. I didn't know who the hell this dude was until this happened. Which, by the way, was the point. I had no idea who the hell Jussie Smollett was before he faked a hate crime. And I've even seen movies that he was in, apparently. He didn't make an impression that I was interested in remembering who he was after those. It was one of the Alien movies he was in that I think I saw once. I like the early Alien movies. I'm not a diehard of the franchise, but The Alien movies, at least the first several, were quite good. Vortices. Yes, it's Vortices, Steve.
So, well, but not only that, but like I even was only tangentially aware of the fact that the show Empire itself existed.
Right.
And
I've never seen an episode. It's certainly not. I'm certainly not the target audience.
Well, and that was only because it starred Terrence Howard, and I happened to be aware of the fact that Terrence Howard was in a show on Fox called Empire. And I like.
See, I didn't even know that. I don't think I've ever heard the name Terrence Howard.
You would recognize him if you
Today,
saw him.
I don't.
you would recognize him if you saw him. But the point is, like, we're pretty big MAGA guys, and between the two of us, only one of us even knew the show existed, and it was kind of by accident. But sure, Empire, F word.
So, the allegations come out. He deals with the police. It's basically discovered that what he has claimed is a total hoax. And again, this is an old article because we're referring back to when he was originally arrested and charged with 16 felony counts for faking a hate crime. Now, to put this in perspective, if you think somebody has committed a hate crime, if somebody claims that a hate crime was committed, the statistical data on that is that 70% of all hate crimes reported are hoaxes. Let me throw you a couple of examples. Go away. Get out of here. Black woman charged after allegedly posing as white male and sending violent racist notes to neighbors. This is from October of last year, right? Metro Atlanta neighborhood shaken after receiving threatening racial letters. Turns out it was a black woman trying to gin up the support for her cause, right? Black female high school student is identified as vandal behind racist graffiti that saw Sacramento High School's water fountains scrawled with white and colored, right? And they caught the hoaxer. I'm trying. Go away. Black college student arrested after allegedly posting fake racist frat party invite to read "No blacks." So apparently there was an invite to this frat party, and a black guy decided, I want to make these people look bad, so he made a fake copy of the invite. Black student is revealed to have written N-word graffiti that called for death of black people and led to walkout at Missouri High School. Right? So that's another example. These hate crime hoaxes, they actually have real consequences. They cause real problems. Just like, and I'll get back to this on the Smollett thing in a minute. Smollett didn't just smear a bunch of people. The Smollett hoax happened in 2019. He was trying to capitalize on all of the other police brutality, Trump's a racist, narrative garbage. And the culmination of all of that fallacious race hate hoaxing, all of that garbage, the culmination of that was a near year-long race war conducted against the United States by Democrat National Committee funded terrorist organizations like Black Lives Matter and Planned Parenthood. Pride crash now blamed on accident, not attack.
Whoops.
You remember this one? There was a car accident. And they tried.
Oh boy, yeah, man! I heard about the car accident. I didn't hear about this part.
This van went screaming into a pride parade, and immediately, as soon as the van ran into the pride parade, unlike that time that the black guy in just outside of Kenosha tried to murder a bunch of Christian protesters with a van, and it was proved that he stated his intent beforehand, he's
written songs about it.
He went out of his way to do this. And we were told, no, this was just an accident. In this case, they managed to hide the correction on page 37 like they always do. It turned out that the van that smashed into this Pride Festival was a gay men's choir in a van that just lost control of the vehicle. And once it was revealed that it was, this was a gay men's chorus at the Pride Festival, it was like, it's suddenly much more difficult to pretend like this was a legitimate targeted attack. Right? And I can keep doing this for a while. I'm going to go ahead and skip the last few and go all the way to the last one. This one's even, God. There was another one like this when I was at Clayton State several years ago where all of a sudden they were saying something about a hate crime because I shit you not, a black kid at the college saw a banana peel outside of the Multicultural Center.
No.
And said that he felt personally attacked. Because it meant that a white man was calling him a monkey. And it's not like it was artistically placed or arranged. Somebody ate a banana and was a bit of a douchebag and didn't throw the banana peel in the trash can. And that was the official finding after the investigation. And you know what the real problem with this is? There was an investigation.
That was about to be my. That was good.
So just like this one, hate crime hoax. News reported on campus. Just crane steel cable loop. So I wouldn't even call this a hoax. I won't even call this a hoax. Because here's what happened. See? That's the cable. Hanging from the crane. It's a big construction crane. This is where you hang hauling tackle, big hooks and clamps and stuff, so that you can, connect the cable on the crane to a thing you want to pick up. This is part of the machine. Right? Oh, but it looked like a noose. So early this evening, we received a complaint about a possible noose found hanging from a construction site on the CCSU campus. Campus police investigated and found that it was not a noose, but a standard steel cable loop hanging from a crane. But a complaint that the cable was a noose prompted campus officials to apologize and pledge to take down the cable as soon as possible. This ain't even a hoax. This is a clear example of the need for trade schools because you got a bunch of kids at a college campus who don't know what the fuck a piece of construction equipment is. The correct answer to this problem is to get a job. You useless sacks of horse shit. And this is why Cameron was able to talk me into talking about the Smollett case today, because it is indicative of a much larger problem. And we go back to the Shady AF, and remember, he was arrested, he was charged with 16 felonies. At the time, Cook County State's Attorney Kim Fox recused herself from the case for reasons that weren't disclosed but presumably involved conflicts of interest. And speaking of conflicts of interest, Michelle Obama's former chief of staff contacted Fox and said that Smollett's family had concerns about the case against Jussie. No problem. Fox unrecused herself and dropped all the charges against him. So we knew there was a conflict of interest. And then she unquit so that she could come back and make sure that she was able to take full advantage of those conflicts of interest. And this is staggering. Okay, Jussie was one of the most outspoken, and I didn't even know this until after the fact, because again, I didn't know who the hell he was until he ran this hoax. He was one of the most outspoken advocates and supporters for Kamala Harris. Close friend of Michael Obama. Big Mike!
I got it.
So Michelle's former chief of staff worked to get him sorted out. And this is going to blow your mind.
President.
Where is the accountability in the system? You cannot have, because of a person's position, one set of rules applies to them and another set of rules applies to everyone else. Our officers did work hard did hard work day in and day out, countless hours working to unwind what actually happened that night. The city saw its reputation dragged through the mud. This case sends a clear message that if you're in a position of influence and power, you'll be treated one way, and if you're not, you'll be treated another way. For example, if you want to blow up all your email servers and wipe them off with a cloth.
Oh, yeah, I mean, I was already having the Hillary Clinton thought. Did you
This
wipe
is
the
Rahm
servers?
Emanuel saying this, though.
I'm tracking.
This is staggering.
This is Rambo.
Rahm Emanuel said, well, this looks like two justice systems. No shit!
This is Rambo. Well, Rahm Emanuel always had a fantasy to be mayor of Chicago. It was like one of those childhood things.
Yeah.
And so, like, I think he was legitimately salty to be like, golly, our city already looks corrupt enough. Thanks, guys.
There's Steve. I agree with Whitney Houston. I believe the children are our future, are indeed our future. And that can't possibly be a good thing.
Oh, see, I like strikers. On tonight's news, more news on the noose and the bad news our newscast brings as ratings plummet. See, that was good. Well, look, and here's the thing, okay? And talk about the memetics that keep on giving, okay? And Jussie Smollett's whole thing about I am not suicidal. I am not
right
suicide. Like, all right,
Jussie, you're gonna be okay, buddy, because your friends suicided Epstein. Your friends did that. You're okay.
So
we may be in trouble.
Yeah. Never.
Just cut the transmission off there, but I couldn't help dropping that one in there.
So, but here's part of why I wanted to talk about it, because there's a lot of layers to this, okay? Yes, and everybody bear in mind, as I'm about to say the things I'm about to say, I think Jussie Smollett is a pathetic piece of shit who, honestly, at this point, I really just pity. Like the same way you pity an animal with a crippled leg that just can't help it anymore.
I think he should be executed for his crimes.
Boy, brother, execution, like you say that a lot.
I do.
Okay, but here's the thing, though. Okay, he should have been
attempted to.
I got you. Let me finish.
He decided a race war.
Like I got you. Okay. So, but here's the deal, right? Never should have had the charges dropped in the first place, right? Should have been arrested, and typically, I believe, like, for example, if you accuse somebody of rape and you're lying, you should now get the sentence for rape. So,
yep.
If you accuse somebody of a hate crime and it turns out you're lying, you should actually get the sentence for a hate crime. Okay. However, he did cut a deal. And while I thought that it was shady, AF, as the...
Yep.
Okay. But he cut a deal. And I said, okay, well, I don't like it, but now this is the new paradigm that we're operating under. And then
so he never should have gotten his deal to begin with.
Yes, he never should have gotten a deal to begin with, right?
But
However,
he did get it.
But he did get it. And then the federal government said, yeah, but no, we're going to go ahead and prosecute this case anyway. And we talked about on the show, said, look, I believe Jussie Smollett deserves to be penalized for his actions. But I don't like the federal government sailing in and just deciding we're going to prosecute this person. I don't know that I ever want the federal government to have that power.
You mean like somebody's been found guilty of murder in an obviously rigged case, and the federal government comes in and says, you know what, double jeopardy? We want to make it extra Haiti murder.
That's right. Are you guys are all three of you men going to die in prison? Well, we're just going to double make sure you die in prison.
Make you die harder.
Anyhow.
The return of John McClane.
Exactly.
To prison.
God, there's still got to be this thing with, like, Roddy Bryant's like, why the fuck did I pull out my iPhone? But
you get a bunch of convicted serial child rapists running you down in the middle of the street, and you successfully defend yourself with your God-given right to keep and bear arms, and all of a sudden thank God they backed off of it, but they were the federal government, the Obama administration was seriously considering running in and pulling federal hate charges against Rittenhouse after he was acquitted.
So, but anyhow, okay, but he gets his deal. Then the federal government comes in and prosecutes him. And so he ends up being found guilty and is sentenced to 3 years of probation and 150 days in jail, which is a relatively lenient sentence. But, okay, whatever. Now, again, we're to the new normal, okay? I don't like how we got here, but this is where we're at. And now he's been released from jail. And it's like, okay, all right, guys, can you pick a lane? All right, I'm actually trying to be intellectually consistent here, and you're making this difficult. Please stop making me defend the piece of shit known as Jussie Smollett.
Let's also point out that he was convicted on 14 of the 16 charges, I think it was.
No, he was only convicted on like 4 or 5.
Well, anyway.
But he was convicted of multiple felonies.
But let's clarify something real quick. None of those felonies were classified as hate crimes in this case. If what Jussie Smollett did has been convicted of having done, so I'm not going to say alleged.
No, it wasn't a federal case, but it was a special prosecutor that came in and said, thank you, Alex. Yes, it was not a federal case, but it was a special prosecutor that came in and said, we're going to reopen this case, even though it's been closed by all these other people. So, and look, and here's the thing. At that point, I don't know that Jussie Smollett is the one who's on the hook. District Attorney Fox should be the one who's on the hook. If the deal you make is so corrupt...
There needs to be a serious investigation here. Oh, Fox and Joseph Maggots, the Cook County State's Attorney, or first Assistant Cook County State's Attorney, who said, based on all facts and circumstances of the case, and also keeping in mind resources and keeping in mind the office's number one priority is to combat violent crime and the drivers of violence. This is where I have a problem. Violent crime, okay, you can make the argument that the hate hoax itself isn't actually a violent action. You can make that argument, I suppose, if we're going to accept that it was all just acting. But the drivers of violence. We've seen violence in this country escalate to Democrat National Committee funded terror group Black Lives Matter's individual agents committing murder, targeted, intentional murder on the streets without consequences. So to say that this incident was not a driver of violence is a lie, and you knew it when you said it.
Well, that's one of the things that makes this so insidious, and why they staged the whole thing near the camera. We might live in a completely different country if that camera had caught this alleged assault. But Alex jumped to where I was trying to get to with the double jeopardy thing, and that's why I'm actually glad that he corrected me. He was not convicted in federal court. He was convicted in state court, and that's important because now we're looking at a potential double jeopardy situation. And even though I think Smollett is a piece of shit, I'm going to be intellectually consistent here. And if there is a question of double jeopardy, then I would actually want his conviction tossed.
I agree with you on that 100%. This isn't exactly a but. I agree with you on that 100%. And I want to go further and say that what needs to happen is there needs to be a serious investigation. There needs to be a serious investigation into the corruption and the conspiracy that apparently involved this Kim Fox, this Maggots guy, Michelle Obama, and probably Kamala Harris for this criminal to evade justice to begin with.
Alex, don't beat yourself up. When you're right, you annoy people. Believe me, I know.
Yeah, and Alex, I was with you on that too. The trial in which he was convicted was illegal. I think you're right on that.
Like the whole concept of a special prosecutor that's just allowed to say, "Oh, the justice system already worked all this out, but I don't like the outcome."
Well,
oh well.
But for us to get to the point that the trial where Jussie was convicted was an illegal trial, my contention is that that the trial itself was technically illegal, but in order to have achieved that technicality, there were a great many crimes committed to contrive that particular circumstance. So, like I'm going to recuse myself because there's a conflict of interest. Oh, you know what? I've just decided my conflict of interest is not nearly as important as making sure that this guy doesn't get in trouble because, well, he's out here speaking for Kamala, and Michelle wants that to keep going.
Yeah, man, speaking of conflict of interest, how much different is the world we live in if Jeff Sessions doesn't recuse himself?
Or how much different is the world we live in if the Biden laptop isn't suppressed?
Oh, that's one that we're going to have to go back to.
We are going to be...
Yeah.
I was going to talk about gas prices tomorrow. We're going to be talking about the Hunter Biden laptop tomorrow.
The list of 50?
The revelations on the Hunter Biden laptop tomorrow, we're going to discuss tomorrow. The revelations on the Hunter Biden laptop implicate every major news source that didn't report on it.
Yeah, basically everybody you think is a piece of shit.
Twitter and the DNC, the Biden campaign, et al., etc. Remember that word collusion? The correct phrase is this: in a conspiracy to defraud the American people. Anybody who was aware of the Biden laptop, up to and including Joseph Biden, who said it was misinformation and a lie on the national stage, on the debate stage, we now know that all of the information from that laptop was genuine and has been corroborated with forensic evidence to include that Joe and Hunter's personal finances were intertangled during Hunter's time at Burisma, while apparently Joe was directly financing Hunter's prostitution and drug binge. That implication, coupled with the exit polls where 60% of Biden voters said they would have at least not showed up if they had known about the Biden laptop situation. What you have is a conspiracy to defraud the American people. So yeah, we'll be talking about that tomorrow. And we'll be live on Rumble just in case. So y'all be safe out there. Did you have something to close on?
No, just I can't believe somehow again I'm backed into a corner of being on Jussie Smollett's side. Like it's
The locations of Burisma include a Chicago suburb, guys. While that doesn't surprise me, Hunter was in Ukraine and commuting and working with that. So y'all be safe out there. We love you, and I think I'm going to Fayetteville again today.
okay.